Hello and welcome to the Decibel Boost podcast, the official music podcast of the website Surreal Resolution. I'm your host Robert, and if you want to access the backlog of this podcast, you'll have to pay an extra $5.99 on your monthly internet package. Thanks, Ajit Pie! And with me, I have...
I'm Alex, the Jeremy McKinnon of this website.
And...
Mark, the sound space. Oh, wait, no, what the fuck? Ow! Hey, I want to be a for this shit. Help! I can't say sound space. What the fuck?
Quick, send the Nightman after him. Or, I don't know, fucking hire a cricket or something to help. Shit, now we have to find another host. I wonder if Fantano's available.
Let them have a place now.
Well, you were almost kidnapped. We can't risk that again.
No, we can't. Although I think Fantano's busy with list week.
Yes. There are lists in these weeks because obviously everybody's choosing the December time to reflect on, well, everything. And obviously no one's going to put Eminem on their best of the year list.
Oh, that's for damn sure. Oh, that's for...
Wow.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that album was just... okay, to the outlets saying it's his worst album, somehow worse than Encore, no, but only by the virtue of Encore being lightning in a bottle terrible. But yeah, I am just so damn tired at this point.
Stop putting albums out that start with the prefix re. It doesn't work.
I mean, come on, you were almost there with the Marshall Mathers LP2, which was half a good album. Basically everything up until and including Rap God. Then after that, it's still fucking boring bullshit. But anyway, that's not the point here. The reason we have all congregated here today is because it's finally time. The one that all 5 of you have been waiting a good however many weeks for. 50, 52, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's 50 at this point, because we're obviously not counting the next 2 weeks or whatever. I'm stalling. But yes, it's time for us to throw our hats in the ring that every music publication was pretty much doing... pretty much like within the first few days of December, and recounting our top personal favorite albums of the year, deluxe edition, revamped with all new scenes in HD.
And Knuckles.
That one nudity.
Featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series.
It never gets old.
I swear to God, if they actually bring him back for 5, I'm gonna fucking shit.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
At the very least, I'll have Bayonetta 3 to look forward to. You know, the best Dante.
Won't we all? Oh, except for the people who are clamoring, why aren't you putting it on PC? Because Nintendo saved it. It's theirs. Suck it.
Yeah, that's true. Plus, I don't give a shit about PC gaming anyway. Except for maybe Super Hot, but that's another story for another time. But anyway, with all of that out of the way, obviously 2017 was... one of those years, just like every year, where everything but the music sucked. It was basically the Star Wars prequel trilogy of years.
Didn't we say this last year?
And I will say it again because it keeps happening. Until the years stop sucking, I'm going to keep making that metaphor.
It's going to be a while then.
Damn right. But I suppose we should actually, get into the list proper. So, as always, like we do with the roundups and shit, we're gonna let Alex kick things off.
Okay. Now for me, because I'm not a pretentious music snob, I don't do a list of bests. I do a list of favorites. The albums that sort of, hit me right in the fifis, as the kids say.
What?
At least I think that's what the kids say. I don't really go out that much. I'm sort of a recluse. A hermit, if you will.
Nerd.
Yeah. So I am bringing to the table my list of my 10 favorite albums of 2017, prefaced with 6 honorable mentions, albums that just barely missed the cut.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. Not quite runoff, but... it's those end pieces that don't quite fit in with the rest of the group. But I'm stalling. So, 6 honorable mentions, starting with Living Colour's album, Shade. I'm all for solid funk metal outings with political race directed at all the right people. And this album has lots of that and some great style fusions to it with funk, metal, rap, even some blues here and there. And it's simply in this list because, well, it just missed the cut. Simple as that. Second mention, Pink Guys, Pink Season.
Meme machine, meme machine. I'm a motherfucking meme machine.
Yeah, super offensive jams from Papa Frankie's weirdo friend? Absolutely. And
Without me, I will die.
Yes, we know. And I am all for making Shut the Fuck Up a national anthem for those who don't tend to think for themselves. You know who you are.
Why has God abandoned us?
Because he took one look at everything and he said, you know, if the aliens aren't going to come here, I'm not going to come here either. Why are we studying aliens again?
I don't know.
Whatever. Okay. Next mention. Steven Wilson, To the Bone. It feels like there's a pattern with me on every other Steven Wilson album. For instance, Insurgentes is fine, but too droning for my taste. But Grace for Drowning is phenomenally jazzy. The Raven Who Refused to Sing has too much 70s prog for my liking. Also, it has like the actual saddest song ever written, my god. But Hand Cannot Erase is a brilliant pop rock record with a great narrative to it. Subsequently, To the Bone goes a bit too far into the pop realm for me. There are some great songs on it, such as Pariah and Detonation, but as a whole, the whole album just wasn't my cup of tea. But that means the next one's going to be awesome.
Oh boy.
Next mention, Pallbearers Heartless. And this is here.
Ooh, I was so sure that'd be on yours.
No, this is here solely because of my unfamiliarity with the band. And again, it just missed the cutoff. This album really impressed the hell out of me. And I'm going to have to dive back into their catalog another time. But as for this album, solid doom that knows how to blend in progressive elements in a brilliant fashion. It's definitely one of the best metal albums of the year. It just managed to almost make it in my favorite top 10. Just by that much.
You know, I actually managed to fit it in one of my radio shows where I'm doing, like, my top metal releases of the year. I actually played it last night, I think. First half of the set.
Cool. Another mention here. Eesh. Brand new science fiction. It's
boy.
simple. Jesse Lacey's rampant thinking with his dick behavior prevented me from putting this in the main list. Now, as an album, it's phenomenal from start to finish, but knowing what we know now prevents me from giving this anything more than an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake. And the last honorable mention I have here is Rob Scallon's metal compilation, The Scene is Dead.
Yes, it is.
Now, you all should know who Rob Scallon is. He's the A-string guitar guy on YouTube that does all kinds of videos with loads of weird instruments. He made metal songs with a sitar and a theremin. Anyway, The Scene is Dead shows off what Rob does best. Blistering metal. Often with accompanying guests, like fellow YouTube guitarists Pete Cottrell, Sarah Longfield, Ola England, and even, Jeff friggin' Loomis. R.I.P. Nevermore.
Oh.
He's on there. Nice. There are some solid instrumentals on here, and this edged out both Marty Friedman and Andy James's albums from this year for my favorite instrumental metal album, and I am eagerly awaiting what Rob has in store in 2018. Hopefully it involves weird instruments from faraway countries.
And gent.
Yes, a little bit of gent helps. I wonder what Rick Christen's been up to. Alright, on to the list proper. My number 10, Evanescence's Synthesis. Now, I talked about this album a couple of weeks ago, so I won't repeat myself too much. In short, it's a fusion of Gothic symphonic orchestrations and EDM beats all over, and I really like it. It reminds me of why I became a fan way back when, and reimagining these songs into a new style. It does sound interesting on paper, and it still works in execution. It's a very fine third and a half album, and a fine buffer until whatever may come next from Evanescence, aka Amy Lee and Company. Yes. Number 9, Anathema's The Optimist.
Only number 9. Wow.
Yeah, there were a lot of great albums this year I have on here. Now, Anathema is a band I've gotten into in recent years, having gotten deeper into the British prog scene thanks to Stephen Wilson and his numerous projects. And I found a great starting piece with 2 of their best albums, We're Here Because We're Here, and their last album, Distant Satellites. So I was pretty excited for The Optimist, and it delivered for me. It's a very solid blend of their more atmospheric style with some of their late 2000s, early 10s straightforward rock, especially on the track Leaving It Behind. But just as quick as it goes hard, it comes down to reality with the next track, Endless Ways, starting as a hauntingly moody piano ballad and flowing into a U2-influenced anthemic prog track. Both singers, Daniel Kavanagh and Lee Douglas, have such a seamless dichotomy together. They often bounce back and forth, and you combine that with the blend of pumping rock instruments and soft orchestral arrangements and piano, you have a damn fine rock album. And credit to Axis, they called The Optimist their top rock album of the year, and it's definitely one of the best rock albums all year, prog or otherwise.
You know, it's not on my list technically, but I will say, Leaving It Behind, like if I was doing a top something songs of the year, that would be there. Just that perfect vocal melody, Leaving It Behind.
It's solid,
I'm bad at
yeah.
that, but yeah, that just gets me every time.
All right. Number 8, Blackfield's Blackfield 5. And here's Stephen Wilson on this list, somehow, some way. And he's back on board with Aviv Geffen with a return to Blackfield, one of those numerous projects I mentioned. So, short version, Wilson and Geffen struck a musical partnership many ages ago, leading to the formation of Blackfield. But as Wilson was taking a more passive role later on, this led to him leaving the band altogether in 2014 to focus on his own projects. Sure enough, he found himself back working with Geffen for Blackfield's 5th album, Blackfield 5. And if I could compare, this is more of a pop rock project, whereas Porcupine Tree was more in tune with prog and metal toward its latter years. And none of these songs are longer than 4 or 4.5 minutes, which makes this a quick listen. It's start to finish 45 minutes. And I would say this was the Stephen Wilson project that grabbed my attention the most, more than To the Bone did. It just sounded and felt tighter in songwriting and in production value. Anyway, number 7, and this is what I had a hard time trying to fill in, so I had to take brand new off the list. But I found a very, very fine album to put on this spot. Tyler, the Creator's Scumfuck Flower Boy.
Ooh.
Yeah, this one really took me by surprise. I've been familiar with Tyler's work for a while, namely with Golf and Wolf, but something about his style never fully clicked with me for some reason. And as for Cherry Bomb, well, we don't talk about that.
No,
ever.
we do not.
Not ever.
We just forget that ever happened. But I felt curious and put this album on one day, and hot damn, this impressed me. I mean, this guy got Jaden Smith on as a feature, and it worked. How do you do that?
That's just Tyler's magic, man.
Yeah, and speaking of that magic, Tyler comes off as more of a matured artist and producer on this album, having more experience under his belt, and is able to, in a way, wax philosophical about life and his status at large, all without coming across as overly cliched with the softer R&B and soul elements at play on some of these tracks, bangers aside. It's worth noting that, yes, there is a Lil Wayne feature, but it's limited to one track that's only 1 minute long.
Thank God.
Yeah, of course you have the hard bangers like I Ain't Got Time and the lead single Who Dat Boy with
Who Him Is.
With yes, A$AP Rocky. But those are the exceptions. to an album that's as soulful as it is genuine. To me, this is Tyler at a better place in his life, existentialist questions aside. And I'm very glad he's come back with arguably his strongest outing and album to date.
Woo.
Yeah. And number 6, Sons of Apollo, Psychotic Symphony. The only guy who does more on and off projects than Jared Dines is Mike Portnoy. Yes, and he's brought the goods with his newest project and their first album, Psychotic Symphony. From the pulsating intro to Gods of the Sun to the entirety of the frantic instrumental Opus Maximus, this is a solid hour of some of the tightest progressive metal all year. Now, say what you will about Jordan Rudess's encyclopedic musical knowledge, there is just something so satisfying about hearing the combination of Mike Portnoy's signature fills and technique with Derek Sherinian's distorted wah lead keyboards. That's probably why I enjoy Falling Into Infinity more than most. Happy 20th for that album as well. Now, I hope this is more than just a one-off. I would love more from these guys. And more than that live album with Yorkshire they're going to do in Bulgaria next year as well. Moving on from there, number 5, might be a little surprising how it's in the middle of the list, but hear me out. Run the Jewels, RTJ3. And yes, this does count since the physical release date was January 13th.
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, we had a little behind-the-scenes chat about that.
Yeah, we did.
What can I really say about it? It's goddamn Run the Jewels. It hits hard and pummels your face from the intro of Down to the fiery trio of verses on Kill Your Masters. And both Mike and Elle have brought some friends on board for this one, with Zach De La Rocha on the final track. When is that solo album coming out?
When?
Looking for after RGT4.
Yeah. And there's also some guest spots on this album from Boots, Joy, and Danny Goddamn Brown, y'all.
Shaq.
Now, the only reason why I have this on here at 5 instead of anything, I guess you could say, lower than that, is because while this album makes me feel great and pumps me up, there's one other in this genre that I felt was more of an emotionally driven outing later on the list. Take a wild guess what it is.
I don't have a damn clue. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. We'll see when I'm getting more in my element about that, but moving on. Number 4, White Moth, Black Butterfly, Atone. Tesseract's latest album, Polaris, was a bit of a clunky mess. Daniel Tompkins returned to the band after the Altered State album with Ash O'Hara, and it had a mix of the Altered State music with vocals ripped from One, so it was, yeah. However, Daniel Tompkins' other project, White Moth, Black Butterfly, sees them in a different light. In a way, what Blackfield is to Porcupine Tree, this is to Tesseract, a project meant to be more contemporary pop rock with a little bit of Anathema infused in. Now, both Tompkins and Jordan Bethany share, again, a dichotomy of vocals with some laid-back alternative instrumentation, soft guitars and simple drums, even some electronic beats in a few tracks. Now, Rising Sun, it's the main single equivalent of this album, and it tells you all you need to know about this group. It's filled with a softer aesthetic that's more down-to-earth and intimate, with, crooning, soulful vocals and soft instruments that, don't pummel in your face, but serve as a fine accompaniment to the emotional, quote-unquote, aesthetic of the music.
Did someone say aesthetic?
Yes, I did.
Ring, 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 ring.
All right, and number 3, Brendan Small's Galacticon 2, Become the Storm.
Yeah.
Now, I've come to accept that Deathclock and Metalocalypse are dead. I've accepted this, I've moved on.
Well, I haven't.
However, if this means Brendan Small can continue making music, I am fine with that. And Brendan Small has come back to work with Gene Hoglan and Brian Beller to put out the second Galacticon album, which is pretty much the fourth Death Clock album without the name.
Straight up.
So in that sense, you can think of the clean vocals as Pickles, the drummer, finally getting more vocal parts with the band after how many years they've been together. Of course, going back to the real world, Small's guitar virtuosity is across the board, only getting stronger as the years go by. I'm sure those fancy Gibson guitars don't help either. But the songwriting across the board feels much tighter than ever as well, be it on the near 8-minute The Ocean Galactic, the swooping epic of the album, or on the closing instrumental, Rebuilding a Planet. Melodic as fuck, man, it's beautiful.
Yes,
It shows that these guys are about more than the usual pseudo-comedic death metal they become known for, and that when things get serious, these guys can create some damn fine metal that's, dare I say, a bit progressive in parts. Also, credit to Brandon Small. He can use the line 6 gear and not make it sound like fried assholes. Then I'm going to still get Devin Townsend as well, but we'll talk about him another time. Okay. Number 2. Huckful Kenny. Kendrick Lamar. Damn.
Who could have guessed?
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
I'm probably number 1 at first, but like, okay.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a moment. But anyway,
Okay.
Forwards or backwards, for the dum-dums who can't help giving their money away.
Hey, I heard if you listen to the damn collector's edition backwards, it really changes the meaning of everything.
I've heard that too. But anyway, Forwards or back. This is an album that shows off Kendrick's strengths as well as his weaknesses. I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. Bangers aside, there are several strong motifs throughout this album, such as the recurring line of "Ain't nobody praying for me," and the overall theme of faith and the questioning of faith. I went back to watch Fantano's review of the album, and 2 things. 1, it's more than a decent 7. Get rid of the yellow flannel if it's just a 7. It's not just some meme. And 2, while this is a different feel altogether from To Pimp a Butterfly, the level of conflict and doubt in some of the tracks works to deliver a stronger emotional performance altogether. Look at America in 2017 and how things have gone down throughout this year. And I don't just mean, all the dumb fucks in Washington or the trifecta bullshit that is McConnell and Ryan and Trump, but everything else. There's a lot of anger going on, be it driven by race relations or by police brutality or by the continued inequality. And anger begets feelings of defeat. And feelings of defeat do bring in a lot of doubt, such as Kendrick's faith in God, like in the track Fear. Now, I'm not so bothered by the "we are the true Israelites" notion like Fantano was. I instead find it to be an extension of those feelings of defeat. The message may not be crystal clear, but the intent and sentiment are certainly there, but that's just me. And once again, we have a clear dichotomy on display. The feelings of defeat, like on Fear and Yah, combined with outbursts of anger and supposed confidence, like on DNA and Element and Humble, 2 of which were the big singles off the album. And to note, jeez, has Mike Will made a buttload of money off those 2 tracks alone. This dude should be set for life after this year.
You damn well know it.
Man. But the track Triple X surprised me a lot when I went back to listen to it. How it starts off pretty slow, and then, bam, it just goes in hard, it's dark, it's in your face. Then comes in Bono and U2 with a short verse, which actually does tie into one of the tracks off their newest album. So credit to that. And then it goes back to Kendrick, spurting some very cutting verses, some of which were my favorites. It's murder on my street, your street, back streets, Wall Street, corporate offices, banks, employees, and bosses with homicidal thoughts. Donald Trump's in office. We lost Barack and promised never doubt him again. And the verse, it's nasty when you set us up, then roll the dice, then bet us up. We overnight the big rifles and tell Fox to be scared of us. Gang members are terrorists, etc., etc. America's a reflection of me. That's what a mirror does. That's the kind of cutting emotional performance I love. That's what I love about this album. And yes, Damn is a very, very scattered album with differing themes and styles. But I would say that this is an album that we collectively need going forward with what's going on in this country because holy fuck, it's going to be a long road to recovery.
Yes, it certainly is.
And as one last note on the track Element, Kendrick's flow on that track is the strongest in the whole album, and I'm glad he took some inspiration from one Rickety Cricket. You gotta make it sexy, otherwise you don't eat. Remember, hips and nips. I make it look sexy. Yeah. Of course, only one can be number one, and much like last year, my favorite album of the year was the first album I listened to this year. Number one, Pain of Salvation, In the Passing Light of Day.
Boom, called it.
Of course you did. Yeah, you called it this time, not so much last time.
I was off by one or two, but still.
Yeah. So, this is not only a return to form for peak era Pain of Salvation from the days of The Perfect Element and Remedy Lane, but unlike those past albums where the main concepts stem from ideas like war, nuclear power, or self-discovery, this album comes from a more personal place. Frontman Daniel Gildenlow was hospitalized about 4 years ago for what's been called a life-threatening flesh-eating bacteria, and throughout that stay, he ended up writing songs that would round out this album. And listening to these songs, he's pouring his heart out. And it starts with a simple verse in the opening track. I was born on this building. It was the first Tuesday I had ever seen. And if I live to see tomorrow, it will be my Tuesday number 2119. And from there on, it becomes a haunting recapping of Daniel's thoughts throughout this day, and even his mental state, be it his conflicts over prayer and God in Tongue of God, or his lashing out of frustration on Reasons, or even his own fear and lament of death on If This Is the End. More than that, however, are little subtle Easter eggs to past Pain of Salvation albums, be it the motif of ending theme off of Remedy Lane present in the last two songs, or a nod to a track off of their Road Salt 1 album. But where this album becomes my favorite comes with the final track, the 15-minute closer, The Passing Light of Day. In context, it is an ode from Daniel to his wife, Joanna, reminiscing about their marriage and his own fears of how his hospital stay will end, be it in health or in death. And without going too deep into my own personal life, I can relate to this song a lot with what is being said in these lyrics. I am terrified of death, and combined with my ongoing clinical depression and all that stuff, any major thoughts that enters my head like that can just set me off into a slump. But knowing that someone is there with you, beside you, that will always be there next to you, it does make things feel better, even if you're in your darkest moment of uncertainty. And hearing Daniel belt out the closing lyrics on this song, it never fails to move me to tears with how powerful a song this is. Without a doubt, this is one of the best songs Daniel Gildenlow and Pain of Salvation have ever written, if not the best song they've ever written. It's a tremendous piece that serves as a perfect ending theme to the best Pain of Salvation album since Remedy Lane. And that's why In the Passing Light of Day is my pick for my favorite album of 2017.
Beautiful, man.
Well, I feel better.
Yes. Now, relax, take a break, take a shit, eat some Taco Bell, whatever it is people in North Carolina do. I assume they muck spread.
I'm not even going to respond to that.
But now we move on to the next part, the next list here, which will, of course, as always, be our good old blue mind hybrid person. I'm trying to think of a way to mash up all your aliases here. I got nothing.
Okay. Yeah, that was just me, Mark. So 2017 has been an interesting year for me. I like I started there's more albums, and like as well as last year, I rank albums from either how I liked them, how I've been going back to them many times, and the whole usual spiel. Before I get to the top 10, or in this case, top 15, because actually, I like my music here than last year. I'm gonna go with the honorable mentions first. I'm gonna be quick on the motherfuckers.
Swag.
All right, first I want to mention Lil Dragon, Season High. What you gotta say? I've been getting this group for a while now, mainly by their features, because I know them either on the De La Soul album last year or K Janata, and I gotta admit, I like their down tempo electro pop shit that I've been listening to. The single Sweet, I really love. Strobe Light, great. Butterflies, a deep cut that I really fuck with all the time. And also, I will say the fact that I really like the lead vocalist on the group, Yukimi Nagano, on there. I think she's a really great singer, on there. Second honorable mention, we got Clark with Death Peak. And wow, and yeah, last time I said after this and Blank Mass. Oh, spoiler, that's on there too. Honorable mentions. I said that I fuck with Blank Mass then better. Well, they could change. I kind of fuck with Clark a bit better. Compare that to. But yeah, like listen to Clark's album. I will say I do find some more cuts that I like. I think the hit out of Slap Drones, which I keep laughing every time saying it, like slap drones. Like, keep thinking, oh, these don't slap each other. But yeah, that was good. And like I said, Blank Mass Roll Either, that's another one. I will say, it's a damn for 7 tracks. It's long, like it's really that long, but hey, it's still good. Another I will mention that you'd be surprised it's not on the top 15. Shabazz Palace's The Quasars Duology, Born Against a Star, and Versus the Joe's Machines.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I thought about it for a minute, but I was like, what the... like what your article said. What is this Da Vinci Code bullshit?
Yeah, it's like, I can't... Yeah, it's like... I do like it, but like, I'm not gonna try to understand this shit. I like the sound. I like some of the shit they're going through that I can process, but it's still it's still a good experimental hip hop album that I got from it, and hey, it's still solid for them. Okay, another mention, the one for the rapper that's actually a good person, Kitty with Miami Garden Club.
Yay!
And yes, I will say this is very solid. Like this is more like experimental pop than rap. I can really dig the shit. I dig what she has made, what she has did on this album. I always say that well, yeah, even her pop stuff I'm telling like that more. And that's not just her rap stuff, because her rap stuff is good too. But just saying, I'm really digging what she's going on this album. Next one we got. This one's an EP. This Flume with Skin Campaign and EP2. Now, last year, listen to Skin, which I admit, yes, I fuck with that, and I fuck with that a lot, even though I kind of fuck with it a bit too late after putting on the list. But hey, this EP, this 5-song EP list is like, okay, he got some good stuff in there. I like the features he got with Pusha T and this other artist whose name I can't pronounce right, called Kuka or whatever. Okay, whatever. I'll just say, like, he's type of EDM artist that I could definitely spend my time listening to him, because I think his sound is more interesting, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Next one we got is Rhapsody, Layla's Wisdom.
Ooh, that was making a lot of best of the year lists.
Yeah, and I can see why. Rhapsody's proven herself. I know she's proven herself to be a good rapper already, but I think with this one, this is where she got some, where she got some people. Well, more people know her now. Is what I'm saying. And I would, and it's definitely good. It's definitely fucking good, especially from lyrics to the subject matter to production, which all handled by Knife Wonder and his team of producers. Which that went well for her. Even though and I know she signed on Rock Nation with me, even though it means she's doing the shit her way, which that is good. So yeah, and like I said, props to her, making this album. Hopefully that means the people will dig more into her past stuff. Next one we got is Iglooghost, Neo Wax Bloom.
Only an honorable mention, really.
I will say. I mean, I did enjoy the album. I did enjoy this album. I will say, wonky is the perfect way to describe it because, hot damn, this is crazy as fuck. Like from the music videos I saw and the songs I listened to, this is definitely another artist that I should be looking at more info on. And we'll say props to Brain Feeder, who got this dude sounding there. Because I've been liking most of the artists. Another one I'll mention later on. I won't say who, but yeah, But yeah, it's really good. And the last I will mention we got is, of course, Mr. Fuck, that's Delicious himself, Action Bronson with Blue Chip 7000. And what to say, it's another fine addition to his Blue Chip series. And hey, is the only rapper from Atlantic that I actually like or I listen to.
Now I really want the chicharrón sandwich. I should buy his book.
Alright, let's get to the top 15 proper. Hopefully this won't be too long.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Number 15. We have an album that I probably checked in way too late even within the year. Like, it released back in February and I just checked out like a couple months back.
Damn.
That is Quelle Chris with Being You is Great. I wish I could be you more often. Now, I heard this guy, he's part of the Mellow Music Group, the people that sign people like Open Mike Eagle and I think Mr. Lip signed on that label too.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I heard some about this album, man. I do like the concept going to like Being You is great. Like it's something about like self. It's like self anything like self-respect, self-improvement, self-discovery, loving yourself, which you get hence the fucking title. And I will say like I do, and I'll say I really do dig something on this, and the production is crazy as shit, and I dig, and I especially love the song called Buddy. So I fuck with myself. I fuck with myself. I go something like something like that. I like that, and I will, and like I said, the beat selection is pretty fire with songs like for Buddies, Popeye, and the last song Pendulum Swings with the Alchemist, producing it, and which of course I love a good Alchemist beat. So and the features aren't too bad here, which they got a lot of some underground artists like Jean Grey and Rock Marciano, and I think Elzai, him too. But this album is it's great. Wish I could be it more often. Number 14, an album which from somebody who I never thought I would be shocked to say that's great. Calvin Harris for Funkway Bouncers Volume 1.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I'm shocked too. I'm shocked when I heard that first single Slide, when I thought, wait, that's from Calvin Harris? That guy? Him? Which I thought, this is definitely an album this is a summer album. This is an album that should be played for the summer whenever, in beach parties, because when you hear songs like Slide with Slide, Heatstroke, and Cash Out with Schoolboy Q and Drum and Play Next Door, this pretty much this was a damn good summer album that I can some album that'll get you in a funky mood. Like, it is definitely that good. I'm surprised he actually turned this pretty well. And I just hope Volume 2 is good, if that happens.
All the volumes. It'll be up to volume 27.
Dang. Yeah. Number 13 is, of course, my boy, Freddie Gibbs. You only live twice.
Oh, that part.
And I've listened to this album, EP, mixtape, I don't know, project. I do get, I mean, like you really do get, you to get, like, that what he went through, 2016 with all the shit he been through. I mean, because with all the rape allegation shit happening right now, and I think I know that's the last thing he wanted it. Yeah, and we'll say he does address along with that shit, because he got second chance. He want to do right, he want to right by his daughter, right by his wife. He's still gonna be in the rap game. Don't worry about it. He's still gonna be rapping. He's just saying, he's not gonna do the whole, the other shit that'll get him arrested. It's just saying, like, I do like the fact that well, on this album, he does retain the trap shit, but he does want to make sure he does right by by his people. Oh, and also Alexis is still a fucking joint. But yeah, now I'm gonna do is wait for that bandana with Madlib. When? Can it be next year? I mean, you're gonna rush it out. Just do some EPs, and then maybe, I don't know. I want that bandana. I want you. Number 12. Okay, number 12. We got a boy. Well, another one of the boys. Vince Staples, Big Fish Theory.
Oh yeah, baby.
Oh yes, this is definitely something of departure from his last album, because he went to go more electronic, more dance, more EDM type of shit, or more house, and I can say this shit works out pretty well in his favor. Like, especially with especially for the song "Party People," where it's like, I can party tonight, but I know for the fact that everything's gonna be all fucked up tomorrow and all that shit. And of course, you got some good joints like Crash of the Buck and Step 45, and of course, with our boy Kung Fu Kenny.
Woo!
And of course, and Bad Back as well. Like, this is definitely Vince saying, I'm not doing the same shit. I'm a certain direction, and that is good for a rapper to do. I like that he does that, and I respect that of him.
I also respect him for taking on the Wings of Death.
That too, because damn, I still love that episode. but yeah, man, Vince is doing mighty well for himself. I'm glad this album is fucking great. Number 11, an album that I know some people might like or hate, or might be mid of. That is Gorillaz with Humans.
Ah.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people either have mixed feelings about this album, which I kind of get. I know this album is very feature heavy, like a lot of features. Like, the only solo song that Damon Albarn got was "Busted in Blue," which is good though. But I will say there's a lot of fun songs on there too. Like, I still dig Vince Staples on there. I really like Strobe Light on there. Danny Brown, as always. I actually like Carnival with Anthony Hamilton. I can't believe he has a band called the Hamiltones. That's damn.
That dad joke level. That.
Okay. Yeah, and this is good. Oh yeah, there are still a bunch of good songs in there. Even if it's 20 tracks or 26 or even more, since I'm not touching that super deluxe edition shit, because damn, if the deluxe edition was 26 songs, I imagine how more songs that would be on there.
And possibly more in the future. They say they might have an album out in 2018.
Oh yeah, that's right. We get more Gorillaz next year, and hope it should be good as that.
Yeah.
Can wait for that shit. All right. but yeah, Gorillaz Humans, pretty good project. I should go back to more of the albums to see which one I like the most, cause like I do like the earlier shit, and I actually like Plastic Beach, or at least
I know, right? Why does it seem like everyone hates that album? I'm not sure.
Yeah, like Plastic Beach was kind of good. I mean, they got some songs out. Okay, yeah. Anyway,
moving on.
Number 10, an album that I have to borrow somebody's CD and rip it to my computer. Jay-Z's 444, because I'm damn sure paying title for me for that shit.
Yeah, the title tax.
Yeah, but other than that, this is actually a well good album from Jay-Z, considering the fact that the expectation of this was pretty low, considering the fact that his last album, Magna Carta, whatever, Assassin's Creed, wasn't all that great. But here,
what the hell was he thinking with that Justin Timberlake song?
Yeah, but here, this is one, like, as people said before, it's one of his most mature albums of his career. Like, he definitely made some topics ranging, hit, ongoing hip hop culture, his stuff with Beyonce, stuff about his mom, his issues with Kanye West, and all that one time Solange beat his ass in the elevator before. But yeah, like all these songs produced by No ID, all of them, which were fantastic. They all got those things now, right? Like Kill Jay-Z, the story of OJ, 444, the title track, even with Moonlight, when I love the fact that Moonlight, the song, it was talk, get on the whole Moonlight La La Land thing that happened this year.
Yeah.
And I want to say this, I'm glad, like, on the deluxe edition, they did include Adonis, aka that song you heard when they were showing pieces of it when you saw Marshall Ali boxing with Danny Glover in black and white. Which the video of that was, damn, that was almost, I would say weird as fuck, but not that weird. But it's just, maybe towards the end it was like, oh shit, I look that old. But yeah, Jay's, yeah. This is a good one from Jigga. It's just not worth paying for title prices. Just saying.
Nope.
Actually, that album is on Apple Music, but I'm not sure if it's on Spotify.
I don't think it is on. Okay, I heard it's on Apple Music, but not on Spotify. Last time I checked.
Okay.
Like I said, I had to borrow a CD from somebody. Number 9. Hey, one choice that's not hip hop. It's Ariel Pink, dedicated to Bobby Johnson. I mean, Jameson. Damn.
Yeah, who the hell's Johnson? Holy shit.
So yeah, like. This may be, like I said, like, I know little of Ariel Pink that much, but I will say, like, listen, most of his tracks is like some, like, weird-ass psychedelic rock with a hint of chill wave in there. I will say, I think it was this guy, and I know we got a lot of albums before that. Well, we'll say it's the second one by himself, since he always did his band with that in the Haunted Graffiti, as I recall. I think he usually do with that. But yeah, anyway, I actually fuck with this album a lot. Like, I do, like, I mean, from the first to the last, actually, I dig some of these songs. Even though I say some of these songs are weird as fuck, like Santa's in the closet, which I think that means Santa might be kind of fucked up. And then I like the sound we got to me with songs like Time to Feel Your God, Feels Like Heaven, and acting with Dane Funk. That I always crank that song every day since the album. Like, acting, yeah, like that. I'm not gonna sing the shit, but it's still this is a good album. I'm liking more to hear from Ariel Pink. Yeah. Now with number 8, number 8. This is a soundtrack pick, and it is Wild Chicks Point Never, Good Times, the Good Times soundtrack.
Woo.
Now, here's the thing. Now, recently I finally did see Good Time, and oh boy, that's one fucked up movie.
Yeah, it's
also
the
my
best
also
kind
my
of
favorite.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, also my favorite. Also a favorite of the year if I made a list of movies, since I'm not going to, since things got. I'm busy with other shit. Anyway, yeah, like I said, listen to this. Listen to the soundtrack along with the film. Actually, does make me like it more. I do like it. Like I know it is like basically all like all past albums all in the movie, and I still say this song, the score is pretty, it's trippy, it's surreal, it's fitting of the movie's tone, the movie's tone, and it works out. It works out well. It works out well with this project. What's my favorite score piece here? My favorite score piece is include as a House of the Rod / Access A-Rod, Leaving the Park, and Connie, my favorite score piece, and also did the song The Pure and the Damned with Iggy Pop. That one's still a good track. So yeah, we got a good score, a good score to a good movie. Also, Rob Pastor did this damn thing on there. Did a good job.
Good to know. It's like you get the best from him when he's not shackled to fucking bad vampire shit. Who knew?
Yeah, he really wants to be a good actor. I don't blame him. He really wants to take these challenging roles. But anyway, this ain't movie shit. Number 7, as said before from Alex, Tyler the Creator, Scumfuck Flower Boy. Now, yeah, this is definitely a far cry from what Tyler is usually known for. Like, I have known some stuff like Wolf, and the album I'm not gonna name. But yeah, like this, like usually you get the the whole horrorcore type of shit he was doing, but this is more, more neo soul sounding like. This is definitely a different thing you get from him. Like you do get the bangers like Who That Boy, I Ain't Got Time. We say there aren't like the most soulful songs. I really do dig it that more well. Like Now I'm Mr. Lonely, Boredom, and I gotta say, Garden Shed, I'm liking that song more and more on there. More on there, considering like I know the whole thing with that album is, the whole thing built up with the whole how coming out shit. Like I'm not trying to get in that shit, but the song sounds good, and oh my god, it still sounds so beautiful on that song.
She sounds beautiful in everything.
Yeah, she does, cause she's best Jim. I mean, yeah.
I mean, that's a funny way of saying amethyst, but sure.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Let's move on. We don't have to deal with this until January 5th.
Yeah, don't worry about that. It's coming.
Yeah. All right, number 6. Let me just question. What's 6 divided by 2?
3?
Oh, that's RTJ 3.
Oh,
Run the Jewels 3.
Nice.
Now, okay, of course. I mean, I got much to say about it. Like, it's fucking Run the Jewels. They still doing this shit as hard as ever. You still know that like the shit they do is they made some pretty good hard bangers. With some interesting lyrics about with some interesting lyrics. Would it rap about their the unsure future, which on 2100. Story about the lost loved ones on Thursday the Danger Room, which that song is gold, and Mark Washington killed it on the sax. Or how often they are, as always. And like I said, they do well. Mark Washington did well. People guess like like I said before, David Roker do well. Danny Brown did the damn thing well. Everybody did a damn good job on this album. This is definitely RTJ. I mean, Killer Mike and LP still doing their shit, and it's damn good.
Yes, it is.
Number 5, which okay, y'all might be surprised, is Damn with Kendrick Lamar.
Really?
Actually, I'm not surprised. That had to be on your list at all, but
I mean, it's on my list. Like, this has been a good year for Kendrick Lamar. I'm glad that his album was the top charting album of the year. I'm glad that not one, not two, but three songs of his album on the top Billboard 100 year-end song list, which is like good. More Kendrick and pop. I mean, Kendrick getting noticed is a good thing. And like I said, that would do good. Now, yes, I know, it's like I'll say, it's still kind of the same shit as to Butterfly did. Only there's more more trap and mainstream sounded type of, well, not almost, but sort of mainstream, almost mainstream sounded beats. Not all of them. Like, I mean, I know Michael with the two best songs out there, Humble and DNA, which DNA is still my shit. But like I said, like he took a different path in terms of music, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm glad he went with a different type of style with what he get, because you don't want to be stale. Like I said, you don't want to be stale with your shit. You sometimes want to venture into some other things. And as I said before, like all she said before, like it's still good. And I do find it interesting on the last song, Duckworth, where he said his father's working at KFC, I think. KFC. His father's giving chicken to to a couple of kids who end up being the president of Top Dog, and if what's his name, Top Dog, until if he shot Ducky, then we wouldn't have Kendrick Lamar. Amazing how do you know how crazy that would be if they got the end.
that's not a world I want to think about, man.
Yeah. Like I said, Kendrick he stayed gold. And now, number 4, another Top Dog artist that you'll probably guess is on this list, SZA with Control. Like I said, speaking of Top Dog, also a good year for the First Lady of TDE as she debuts her album. And this is definitely something else. Like, this is definitely something else. Like it does show her some vulnerability of herself, but she shows it without looking like a damsel in distress, but somebody that takes life under control. What about relationships, some life? I mean, just life in general. All about that shit. And the song choices were pretty good, and the music pretty good itself. Like, you do got stuff like Love Galore, which I still like, Doves in the Wind with Kendrick himself, The Weeknd, which I'm starting to like more, Broken Clocks, Pretty Little Birds, and even the interlude Wave, even the Wave interlude, which I'm liking more interlude of stuff that I think should be longer, but I still gotta say, SZA on her debut album really shows the potential in this artist. Like, it's just a pretty good album. I know her singles have charted. I mean, they charted good. It just pains the fact that her highest charted single is the one with Maroon 5 on it. Or
why?
Don't know. But here's good luck to SZA in 2018. Number 3, and this one I don't know if I'm shocking or not. IDK, I Was Very Bad.
Were you now, Mark? Were you very bad?
Well, I know this nigga was.
Yes,
But I think I answered it. I think I answered this album a lot. Like, hearing the story about how IDK was pretty much a bad child growing up, causing a lot of shit, around around the neighborhood and hang with the wrong crowd and all that shit. Like, you basically like the black sheep of the family. Like, why can't you be more like us? Like I don't want to be like more like y'all. I'm gonna do what the fuck I want. Like the songs, even. I mean, it's not playing of us, glorifying the bad shit. It's like, it's more of like, even in the end, it's like even at the end, it's like, now that, well, spoiler on the song Black Sheep, White Dove, when he referenced about how, his mother's now gone. He thinking, I didn't want you to be. Look, I knew about the goal sometime soon, but I didn't expect to cry like this. I didn't want to get close to you. I didn't want to get close to you that much because the pain would hurt more if I did. Like all that shit is like, you can see how, you can see how, he has like a bad motherfucker, but he has that way because if he does that, the pain will hurt more, but it'll hurt more anyway. As for the songs, the songs are still great. Like the starter, just thinking song "The Devil," Peace Officer sitting it with Dale and Doom. By the way, condolences to Doom who lost his kid. I think a few days back. I saw on Instagram.
Yeah.
So that sucks, man. Anyway, sounds like that when it was up. White, like I said, Black Sheep, White Up, and of course, I keep going back to 17 with a 38. I fucking love that song, and I fucking love that song so much. I just keep repeating 17 with your nigga with a 38. Yo nigga with a 38. I'm 17 with a 38. 17 with a 38. I was 17 with a 38. 17 with a 38. That sounds so haunting. I have to play that a lot of times. Like, holy shit! I just keep loving that song and this album overall. I can't even see what more we hear from IDK. Number 2, like I said, another brain feeder artist. We got Thundercat with Drunk.
Ooh.
I keep thinking this back and forth. Like, should this be my number 2 or 3 but anyway, I basically ducked the fuck out of all this album. Like, even if I thought some tracks are too short, come on, man, I Am Crazy and 3 a.m. should have been at least 3 minutes longer. But like I said, this is basically my soundtrack of 2017. Like I mean, when I hear when someone show the way. With the smooth ass shit with him, King Loggins, and Michael McDonald, to Bust on the Streets, which is knows about kind of like how we use technology. Walk Up Bob, yes, a song with Kendrick again, and of course the one song we all know and love, Tokyo.
Gonna blow
Goku fuck. Goku fucking room with me. Thundercat just made an album I really fucking love. Do our 2017.
That reminds me. I still haven't seen his Stephen Colbert performance.
Oh no, you didn't.
Where he apparently dressed up all Super Saiyan and crap.
Oh yeah, I think I did way back, but I don't know. Anyway. Now to the number 1. And I'm going to say this is an album I hadn't discussed on this podcast as of all, because I think I don't think I mentioned y'all motherfuckers before. But this one, I don't want to be all hipster like this. I don't like doing that shit. But when I heard this album, when people talking about this album was good, I'm like, I got to hear this shit. And now, the number 1 album of 2017 is Sampha with Process.
I've heard about that one.
Yes. Now, maybe a year ago, I guess now 11 months ago, or I don't know, fuck it. Anyway, back in winter, February, January, whatever. So yeah, I heard so much about this guy and and see how he worked with artists like Solange and Kanye West and Drake, and thought, okay, I'll probably check this guy out. And the song's like 10 tracks, 40 minutes, that's all good. When I heard the first track of his Plastic 100 Celsius, like, holy shit, this is some beautiful music. This is music that got to my fucking soul. This is music that made me sit down, think about most of my life, give me most of my life, and wonder. It's gonna be freaking hard, and even hard and all that shit. Like, you got songs like that, and No One Loses Me Like the Piano, which is like, okay, I kind of dig that track as well. Like, he does talk a lot. Some topics like, he got his mother dying of cancer, which, okay, that shit does. Like, he bears his fucking soul in this album. That's what I'm saying. Like, this, he like, it does have this, like, he just hits every emotional point to me, and not much the production of it sound really great. Like, this definitely like, R&B with some electronic tinge in them. And I just have to say, this is a solid R&B album. Like, this is the year where I got into R&B more than hip hop. And I like this music is really, like, this is definitely experimental R&B. This is definitely shit that you hear nowhere else. Well, I want to say that, but it's still fucking good. Like, I keep going back to the song, to this album a lot of times. I went to tracks a lot of times. I went to songs that I didn't listen to at first, and then keep going back to it because it just got to me. Like, this is a very solid album. A singer that I'm starting to like. And the more I think about that, why was that dude in that? Why was he in that? Why couldn't that song? Okay, I'll give him a tangent. This nigga appeared in Drake's More Life album with one track, which I think okay, I know Drake. Okay, I know you know Drake and all, but you could at least put. I mean, I know you want some exposure, but yeah, I'm just gonna say this: if you're that guy listening to More Life and thought it sucked, but like that Sanford track on them, listen to Sanford shit. You'll like that better. And that's my number one. That's my number one album of 2017.
You're here. All right, so now this is probably gonna take a bit because it's time for my list to actually close things out, and I have the biggest list here. Like, Alex had 10, Mark had 15. I got 25 main ones. And I'm not going to start off with the honorable mentions. I'll actually fit those in, like, right before getting to the top 10. So let's actually kick this thing off proper. Number 25, Bell Witch with Mirror Reaper. Now, this one I actually listened to relatively recently because I saw it was making the rounds on, like, all the metal blogs, best of the year stuff, and I was really curious. This is one of those, to use the proper genre term, funereal doom, I think? Funeral doom, as I heard. Doom metal that tries to mimic a very dour, morose tone, like, the feeling of death. But here it was rather appropriate. See, with the band Bell Witch, this album was written in part because of the death of their founding drummer, Adrian Guerra, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, in 2016. He was a drummer and vocalist. And so for this album is one song that is an hour and 23 minutes long. The back half of it incorporates some vocal parts that Adrian had done that were left off the cutting room floor of their previous record. And so when you're listening to this whole piece, it really does capture this specter of doom. It's this very... There's one thing that I really like in a lot of metal. It's when metal can be darkly beautiful. Like, it finds, like, these serene melodies and this weird beauty in just the most depressing subjects like death, and you just feel that specter as the album drags on. Just the atmospheric guitars. Actually, there is a guitars. I think this is just like, I think the guy in this plays like a bass or something. It's just like really distorted a lot of stuff. But yeah, if you need an album that just really conveys just the pure atmosphere of death and works as a fitting tribute to a past deceased member, that if you got the length of an Adam Sandler comedy to kill, you should listen to this instead of watching that Adam Sandler comedy. Yeah, it kind of got to me in the feels a bit. Number 24, Necrot with Blood Offerings. This is just one of the best, like, more old school leaning death metal records I've heard, like, in a while. I think this is their debut, or they've had a record or two before this, but yeah, I came across this one, like, just kind of trawling on Bandcamp, and it's everything you kind of want from, like, those really gritty, like, almost kind of groovy, and at the same time, D-beat aesthetic. Like, it's, fast driving. The low-end guitars are very muddy, but they still pack, like, a lot of a punch. The low-end tremolos and riffs and everything. And the way the vocals are produced, they kind of have, like, that reverb-heavy thing going on where it kind of opens up the range into kind of, like, this whirlwind mass that kind of just envelops and almost kind of suffocates you in a sense. It's pretty straightforward. It's very well executed. And, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing where this band heads off in the future. Number 23, Dying Fetus, the wrong one to fuck with. Probably the worst album title of the ones on my list, but definitely one of the best albums. Seriously, wrong one to fuck with sounds like an Amure title. I'm sorry, I'm not letting that go. But yeah, Dying Fetus, forever still my favorite of the more classical, old school death metal acts. And this album, the first since their 2012 release, Reign Supreme, is once again an affirmation of that. Admittingly, it's just more Dying Fetus. You're going to get a lot of really thrashing, heavy grooves, a lot of jittery, off-kilter, stop-start momentums, good building of tension here and there, shredding guitar leads, brutal, just deep guttural vocals, fast-paced drumming passages with a lot of, technical fills and all that. You know the game by now, but they're so masterful at what they do, they almost don't need to reinvent the wheel. They still have this masterful grasp of how to, build and release tension with a song, especially on my favorite track on the album, Seething with Disdain. Just an incredible collection of songs. Admittingly, that's part of why it's a little low here. It's just more Dying Fetus, but like I said, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now for number 22, John Wayne, Rap Album 2. Admittingly, one of those albums I only got around to because Duke Togo was standing for it all over the tweeters all year. So I was checking out a couple of his other releases, specifically Rap Album 1, and I was liking what I was hearing. So when I heard this new one, I was like, wow, I'm really impressed by this. The production sounds great. It's kind of this mix of a lot of there's some boom bap stuff, there's some 70s and 80s soul funk, there's these weird, almost kind of nostalgic, almost kind of melodies that sound like they're Tinkerbox, a Child's Toy or something. I almost want to say it's a mix of the production styles of Tyler the Creator and Nujabes in a weird sense.
Oh, okay, that sounds nice.
And when you listen to his actual flow, he's almost got these tinges of Notorious B.I.G. but also MF Doom. And you're listening to him rap. He's mainly rapping in regards to his own sort of anxieties with being a big name artist. Hell, I think that actually forced him to go on hiatus for a long while between this album and whatever his previous album was. I think it was the first rap album. Yeah. But, he's got a lot of good bars. He's very, I think the thing I like most about this album is that it's very emotionally direct. In a year that brought, guys like Tyler or Logic with his big hit being the, Suicide Hotline number. It's been a pretty interesting year for rappers being open and honest about their anxieties. John Wayne is one of the best examples of that. If you get a chance, check it out. It's really, I hope this guy gets really bigger. I think he's one of the more underrated rappers I've come across right now. Number 21, and this is actually one of Mark's honorable mentions, Clark, Death Peak. It was just one of those electronic albums I sort of had to keep coming back to every now and then. So just based on the replay value alone, it's this really dynamic and interesting mix of, you have elements like IDM, like on the first real song of the album, Butterfly Prowler. You have touches of ambient and drone, like on the song Peak Magnetic in the back half, or like Catastrophe Anthem, which you might actually hear in some of the bumps on Adult Swim, like, recently. I know I've heard it sometimes with, like, this lush, swelling synth melodies and these kind of, like, chorus of children, accentuating the melodies. Then you have the song Hoova, another one of my favorites, which incorporates elements of, like, industrial and even some touches of, like, glitch, or, like, yeah, there's these kind of glitched out, almost vocal-esque melodies that, in a weird way, kind of sounds like some, like, mid-era One Tricks Point Never type of stuff. I think it all comes together really well into this really great dynamic, experimental electronic package. Number 20, the album of flutes that is Bjork's Utopia. Her second collaboration with Venezuelan producer Arca. This one is yet another, like, just absolutely gorgeous musical odyssey. Again, Bjork calling this her Tinder record, more about, like, sort of thematically around, like, dating and more exploring, like, trying to find love after the, falling out of, like, a bad breakup, which I think was the theme of her last record. And there's just a lot of really layered, gorgeous textures and vocal performances and harmonies. As always, Bjork is still, like, one of the best performers, one of the best singers out there. And of course, those flutes. Man, those flutes. There's gotta be, like, a drinking game for, like, the flutes, but you'd probably be passed out, like, halfway through the album. If there's a few songs that are highlights for me, perhaps the big one for me is the song Body Memory. It's got this sparse, minimal drum beat, offset with this very rich, vocal choir harmonies, which flesh out and help, like, lift up Bjork's already great performance. And there's other songs like Features Creatures and, of course, the lead-off single, The Gate, which make great use of, like, the absence of a proper percussive track just to create, like, this sort of fantasy, like, weightlessness. Because that's what, ultimately, the album is. It's a utopia. It's this weird fantasy land that most of us can only ever dream of living in. And speaking of the opposite of a fantasy world that I don't think I want to live in, number 19. Oh boy, having to talk about this band again. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard with their second of 5 albums of 2017, Murder of the Universe. This album ends with a tale about a robot who ultimately ends up destroying the universe by the constant expulsion of vomit. Your argument has never been more invalid.
Oh, damn.
What even?
Oh yeah, you missed this because you weren't on the first album roundup. So just to get everyone back up to speed, their second album this year was an album of, like, 3 different concepts sort of strung into one. The first being the Altered Beast narrative about this woman who comes across this weird abomination of a creature, and she decides she wants to, like, fuse with it on a subconscious level and a physical, which ends up happening, but the creature ends up going insane and dying. Then there's the middle narrative about this godlike entity called the Lord of Lightning that ultimately ends up sort of unintentionally creating this entity called the Balrog. The two fight, the Lord of Lightning wins. And then there's Hantai Yumi and the Murder of the Universe, where a robot aims for the, ability to both die and vomit. And then it ends up creating the soy protein mutt machine, which, it tries to fuse with forcibly, and then it ends up destroying the universe with puke. Yeah, this is...
Sure, why not?
This is... Well, would it make more sense if I told you this was Australian psychedelic rock?
No, it would make even less sense.
Yeah, but I mean, I know the concept is weird, but, like, okay, part of why I like it is, like, musically it's actually, like, really good. There's, like, obviously there's a lot of these blaring, synth and keyboards, like, trippy hooks, the fast driving guitar. It's almost kind of like a psychedelic punk sort of record. And admittingly, I like the music here a lot more than, admittingly, on, like, Flying Microtonal Banana or Polygon Dwana Land. Definitely more than Sketches of Brunswick East. And, the drum work on this here has a lot of really, like, fast and creative fills and really makes some good use of, like, dynamic percussion and everything. And, people like the Melon complained about the spoken word bits on this album. I don't get what the deal is. I actually think they work really well in fleshing out the narratives, especially with the last third, where it's primarily narrated by like this British accented text-to-speech program that just, when you get to the final track of the album and you just hear it actually... You need to actually hear this last track if you want to hear the actual Murder of the Universe by Vomit described in an almost hilariously grim and explicit level of detail. That for me is one of the biggest highlights musically of the year. Just holy shit, this is and this is my first King Gizzard album. Like, I knew there were things since Not a God Infinity, but this is my introduction to him, and holy shit, that's a hell of a first impression to make on someone. That it's just the kind of thing I just couldn't stop thinking about all year. Just, what the fuck? Anyway, moving on to the exact opposite of Vomit and Robots, number 18, Ryuichi Sakamoto, Async. Yes, we're talking about this man again. The man who composed... well, he's done tons of albums. Like, I think this is actually his 20th studio album overall. But yeah, he's especially, like, recently came off of The Revenant, so that name is clearly on my radar. This is an album that is, again, much like Bell Witch, it's very hauntingly beautiful. Right from the album opener, Andata, you have this light piano composition switching into, like, funereal church organs that really just sets the mood, and it's just really, it's pretty, but you also get the sense that something is maybe a little off about the whole thing. But yeah, this album has a lot of, definitely those pianos and synth compositions, like the song Jour, which has those synth patterns that build upon, like, this kind of stuttering noise, random piano strikes, and, like, these kind of pitched clings and clangs, like he's just throwing stuff at, like, any kind of metal stuff in the room to see what works. To best describe the album, like, Sakamoto is definitely one of those guys that I see as more a composer than as a songwriter necessarily, if that makes sense, because a lot of these seem like they're more experimental mood pieces. Like, the song Walker is this kind of low, 2 or 3 droning, synth keys, paired only with the sound of a person walking through a forest. And then you have the song Yubi, which is this haunting piano composition with a lot of, like, beeps of sonar in the background. But if there's one highlight to me, it would definitely have to be the title track, which is kind of hard to describe, like, as a pure song, because it's just this chorus of stringed instruments, like violins, cellos and whatnot. It's very aggressive, like, it's very panicked. Like, the strings are all plucking away at just, like, notes in this very arrhythmic, discordant, and atonal manner. It's very aggressive and panicked, but it really creates just this very unnerving, surreal mood. Like, that, I hope I'm sort of getting across what I mean. Like, he's more a composer than a songwriter necessarily. That definitely comes across really well here, and yeah, I really got to set aside some time to dive into Sakamoto's backlog when I get a chance. Number 17, one that I have in common with Sir Mark over here. Boy, yeah right. Vince Staples' Big Fish Theory. Yeah, this is definitely, I think it's a big improvement over Summertime '06, actually. Like, I think because it's, like, one disc, it's not like a double disc thing, it streamlines, like, the runtime, and the production is more out there and ambitious. Like, as soon as you hit play on Crabs in a Bucket, which just hits you with kind of, like, chirping birds and the whirls of the wind, it's a more cinematic kind of track than even anything on Summertime. And you just hear, like, him rapping in these very, like, aggressively nihilistic lyrics in his attitude, which, you hear in other songs like 745, Samo, And, of course in Bag, which for me, that's like one of the top rap bangers of the year. Like, I would definitely put that in a top 10 if I was like doing a favorite songs of the year, because I just kept coming back to that over and over again, especially that triumphant declaration of "tell the 1% to suck a dick because we are now." A message I think we could all use.
Yeah, definitely. It also helps that the song was used on one of the trailers, the Black Panther, which I still can't wait to see come February.
And yeah, just as a whole, the production on this thing is exceptionally on point. Like, especially the bass on this thing, because there are some songs in here that will just fucking annihilate your goddamn speakers. Like, Bag, and there's just... Oh, I forgot to mention, I also really like some of the collaborations on here, like, especially there's the cameo from Damon Albarn, and a lot of really good vocal assistance, again, from Kylo Kish, which, quick tangent, she plays the daughter on the Jellies?
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but if there's another highlight apart from, like, Bag and Crabs in a Bucket, it would definitely be the speaker annihilating "Yeah, right." Seriously, don't fuck around with the bass on that thing unless you're fucking hardcore, because that shit will destroy your car. I don't know from experience, I'm just making an incredibly scientific hypothesis. And it's got a pretty killer verse from Kendrick Lamar. And speaking of Kung Fu Kenny, number 16, Kendrick Lamar, Damn. Which is more than a decent 7, you melon. Sorry, I just had to fulfill the meme, but yeah, I mean, admittingly, it's no to Pimp a Butterfly, but that's part of why I like this album, because Kendrick is willing to strike out in a completely different direction. I mean, yeah, just as soon as you have that, like, weird, moody, intro, I was taking a walk the other day, and kind of delving into this, like, weird little narrative where he gets, like, shot by someone, before sarcastically sampling that douchebag Geraldo Rivera, segueing into DNA, one of the fucking, bangers on this album, just coming out furiously, he's not taking your shit from anyone, and it's just, yeah, you got that, but then you segue into some, like, overall, this album is very moody. Like, I feel like it touches on some of the same subject matter as To Pimp a Butterfly, but from a more calmer, meditative headspace. Like, you have songs like Feel or Ya especially kind of has almost a vaporwave kind of tone in the production. Like, it just kind of feels very, to use the big word here, hypnagogic. And, there's a lot of really good, lyrics and bars that touch on all the subjects of, his level of fame, his history with Top Dog Entertainment. There's just plain bangers like fucking Humble, which, thank God, Kendrick finally got a #1 hit that didn't involve hitching his credit onto a mediocre pop star.
Yeah,
thank God. And yeah, I think my favorite little bit on the album lyrically is that small bit in Triple X, that moody Loki, Johnny don't want to go to school no mo. The whole bit where he's kind of like analyzing like kids who kind of like look up to rappers and they think like, oh, I want to be that motherfucker one day. But then even then on another song, he's like, they think K-Dot's real life is the same life they see on TV, huh? It's like, you probably should be careful about aspiring to stuff like that, because,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still filled with many of the lyrical complexities that make Kendrick one of the GOATs in the game right now. His delivery is on point, a lot of the production is really good, and yeah, I'm looking forward to if he releases... He's probably going to release something in 2018, I think. Probably another Untitled Unmastered, and then whatever comes after, because got to keep his name in there.
Yeah, I guess if you see like an EP in the future, like Untitled Remastered, Untitled Unmastered, yes, that.
Right. So, hey, that's one that I have in common with all 2 of you motherfuckers. Number 15, Primitive Man. Caustic. This is probably about as nihilistic of a metal album as you can get. And I'm not just saying that because the production and the songwriting is just this aggressive assault of glacially, like, slow tempo music with these just harsh, grating vocals, these really muddy, reverberating guitar tones that just shake the core of your being. This is an album that very much grabs you, like, by the throat and never lets up. But the nihilism also comes from, like, and I can't believe I didn't mention this when I said it in the album roundup, there's a lot of really dour, like, lyrical content. And I don't mean, like, in the usual, like, this isn't, like, sort of fantasy dour. This is very much delving into the realms of social commentary. I'm just going to read one excerpt here, just kind of make my point. And this is from the song Commerce. Overworked, underpaid, from a system meant to fail us, from the time clock to the deathbed, when death grips your hands and kisses them goodbye, remember, none of your workdays mattered. A lifetime spent tonguing the asshole of all your superiors. This is basically Primitive Man capturing the frustration that ultimately lies at the heart of the typical American experience, especially given the year we've been having. Fucking taxes, I swear to God. So this is the kind of sludgy doom that actually, like, cuts even deeper than a lot of other metal albums possibly could of this style. So, you know, props to Primitive Man. I look forward to whenever your next record is. Number 14, Valenfire. Fear those who fear him. And this is an album I kind of got to a little late. Like, I didn't hear it until, like, super tail end of November. And this one came out in, like, actually all the way back in June or July, I think. But, yeah, Valenfire, one of those bands I've been aware of since I think they headlined a Decibel magazine tour. This is their third record. I finally got through other stuff. And I'm very impressed because of the amount of songwriting range there is here. Like, sure, on the surface, it just appears like, you know, some kind of a sludgy death metal sort of thing, but it's got some range to it in how it composes its riffs and, like, the drum beats and everything. There's a lot of wavering from, like, it has influences that make sense from, like, stuff like, you know, there's some D-beat hardcore from, like, songs like Amongst the Filth. There's grindcore touches, like in Messiah. There's some straight doom on here, like on the song An Apathetic Grave. And they managed to run, like, this kind of impressive gamut. Like, no one song feels the same as any of the other songs, which is kind of a feat considering this style of music in this particular band. And a lot of the musicianship is really good, especially the drum work on songs like Degeneration. Like, there's a real talent to, like, holding down the kit the way that this guy does, and yeah, I'm very impressed. I'll have to keep more of an eye out on these guys and keep my finger on, you know, their activities. Number 13, Godflesh, Post-Self. The second album that Godflesh has released since their reunion back in, you know, the early part of the 2010s with 2014's A World Led Only by Fire. This one strikes off in a more experimental direction, taking it back more to the kind of stuff that influenced, like, their early works, and instead of being, like, this kind of aggro, like, 8-string guitar chugs and everything, the songs are definitely more of an electronic, almost very industrial and ambient kind of way, like very post-metal in a sense. In a way, it's sort of taking influences from, as I said, like early Killing Joke, early Swans, but also some of Justin Broderick's Jesu material. The production definitely knows how to have, like, this sparse, kind of hauntingly empty quality to it when you're just listening to, like, these sort of diminished vocal loops, these jangly guitars, and the way the songs can also sometimes cycle back and forth between, like, these, you know, low, like, looping bass tones, and of course the more saturated, just like these vile, almost kind of like screeches of, like, Justin Broderick. Just it kind of, this is definitely, as I said, a zone out metal album. Like, you just throw this on and you just kind of, like, vibe out to it. You just let the atmosphere of it just kind of envelop you. Just let it capture you, man. And now for my number two. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I gotta say this. Hello? Oh, hey, my ticket guy. What's going on? Wait, what? Beg your pardon? Run the Jewels live at the Garden? Holy shit, that's a fucking deal. Hey, yo, thanks, man. I gotta hit you up, but I'm recording a podcast right now. Yeah, see ya. Sorry about that. Where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, number 12. Run the Jewels RTJ3.
Yeah.
Let's start with a few base facts. Killer Mike is awesome. LP is awesome. Killer Mike and LP together are awesome. This album is about 50 minutes, 55, I think, of Killer Mike and LP reminding you why they are awesome. It's every bit packed with fucking banger hooks. Some of their best hooks show up on this thing, like on Legend Has It and Call Tickerton. Of course, Boom My Yea with our boy Danny Brown. Woo! Panther Like a Panther. The absolutely fire as hell closer, A Report to the Shareholders / Kill Your Masters. And they also balanced it out with some of the more somber RTJ material. You know, you got songs like Don't Get Captured and Thieves, which tap into, like, the social anxieties of, like, police brutality and, you know, just everything possibly going wrong in just a single incident. And then, of course, there's the dark beauty of, like, 2100 with Boots, which kind of taps into the anxiety of just everything this entire freaking year has been. Yeah, RTJ 3. 2 for 2. And number 11, just outside of the top 10, and I'm kicking myself that I skipped this in the November album roundup. Fucking bad, Rob. Bad. Admiron et Liber Eris. Ah, yes, this one. Another one of those Admiron albums that's just plain, like, it's hard to find a negative thing to say about it, which is part of why it's up so high. It's got this really, you know, great mix of the massive driving grooves with those kind of atmospheric vocals that often waver back and forth between that and the more thunderous, like, you know, deep gutturals that are almost on par with, like, you know, as I believe Alex said, like, Opeth, or hell, even, like, there are songs on here, like, say, Joshua Tree 37, which grooves like the fucking best of Gojira. Songs like Zero Sum Game have the kind of zigzaggy, proggy guitar melodies of Mastodon. And again, going back to Opeth, for example, the closing track, Zona del Silencio, has those exact kind of compositional intricacies, sort of flowing vastly between, like, this more atmospheric, like, kind of driving groove parts, and then the more, you know, banging, heavier shit. Seriously, still can't believe I skipped this in the album roundup. Curses. And before we get into the top 10, let's actually bring up some my honorable mentions here. I have 10, well, technically 12, but we'll say it as 10 for now. Starting with Hundredth's newest album, Rare. They switched from a melodic hardcore style to more of a driving heavy shoegaze type of thing, and I actually think the change works out really well. There's a lot of really, like, fast driving, kind of gorgeous melodies on this thing, and it's just kind of an addicting album in a weird way. It's just outside the top 10 because, again, I'm kind of only relatively new to 100, so I don't know how this really stacks up in the grand scheme of things, but I enjoyed it. Warbringer, Woe to the Vanquished. One of my favorite modern thrash bands came through with another pretty heavy collection of songs. You know, those vicious vocals, the fast driving guitars, drums, and bass, and of course apocalyptic lyrical themes about how fucked everything is. There was one thrash album that I thought was better, and I couldn't really think of a slot for this one here, so it gets the honorable mention. Oxbow, Thin Black Duke. There's this kind of long-running, like, experimental noise rock thing that's really kind of weird in some albums, but also really great in others. This one, I feel like it's one of their more straightforward ones, but that doesn't mean they strip back on all the weird, complex noise elements. And of course, the whacked out vocal performances on this thing are something to behold. Paramore, After Laughter. Stop laughing, Alex. But yeah, this one, I really like the structure of it, the way that it uses this kind of opening up with a bunch of sugary sweet 80s pop rock tunes before descending into some more morose melancholic material to kind of illustrate the theme of, like, people having to pretend to be happy in real life. So I really like the album sequencing on this thing. I just couldn't think of a spot for it on the list proper. And also I have to mention that Spotify's, like, recap year-end thing said that Hard Times was my most listened to song. Not technically true, but I guess on Spotify, yeah, it is kind of true. Pallbearer, Heartless. Again, one of those ones that I kind of had a hard time trying to, like, I wanted to put it on the list proper. I couldn't think of a spot for it, though. But yeah, this is a really great mix of, like, doom and sort of soaring prog, ambient elements. My favorite little song on here is I think it's Cruel Road, especially just that really heavy break towards the end. It's probably the heaviest thing I think they've ever recorded. As for another one that was actually really, it was really hard for me to somehow keep this off the list. I really wanted to put it here. IDK, I Was Very Bad. I think the thing that kind of got to me was that I'm not really fond of the middle chunk of the album, you know, like the birds and bees part of it, but the album starts really strong with like Mrs. Lynch, Your Son is the Devil, Pizza Shop, and then it ends really strong, like that last batch of songs like Black Sheep, White Dove, Baby Scale, and of course I'm with Mark in saying that 17 with the 38 is fucking goat.
Yeah.
It's honorable mention, but I absolutely do want people to check this guy out, because this is a guy that needs to go places. All the places. Next honorable mention, Gorillaz Humans. Now, here, I have a weird reasoning for this one being off the main list, and that's because I feel like RTJ3 handled the lyrical themes and topics of that Gorillaz was going for with Humans a lot better. Like, I still think Humans is a little scattershot, but at the same time, I am on the fence of the people that liked it. Like, I'd certainly give it more than a decent 5. Not to mention, I did enjoy seeing Gorillaz perform like some of these songs live at 3 points, so that probably is doing it for me. And yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to whatever they have next. And you know, I still go back to some songs on Humans, like Saturn's Bars, or of course the Kalela Danny Brown one. And you know, that De La Soul song kind of grew on me after a while. And now here's the 3 albums that I'm listing as one whole thing here. Brockhampton, the Saturation Trilogy.
I knew it was that one.
Yes, the self-proclaimed first hip-hop boy band ever, saturating the market with music so that you couldn't ignore them. And I feel like I needed more time to sit with some of these albums, but they did get my attention, and I do kind of enjoy some of the hooks they came up with across all these releases, and the chemistry between all the various members is actually like really good. Like, it's almost on par with like any classic 90s hip-hop collective. And if there's one song that I want to sell you all on in order to get you on the Brockhampton train, and if you want to hear like the chemistry that I mentioned, listen to Boogie, the opening track of Saturation 3.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
fucking dare you to not groove to that goddamn song. I fucking dare you. That is another fucking banger.
That song you actually you showed me on Twitter that time.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, this one's it's probably gonna upset Mark that it's only an honorable mention, but Thundercat's Drunk. Again, one of those ones, that's probably the one, Drunk is probably the one I'd say is the number 26. I just feel like, again, like, the whole weird, kind of janky album structure kind of kept it from, like, being super high on the list, but there were some songs here, individual songs that I kept coming back to a lot of the time, like Tokyo, Captain Stupido, and of course Friend Zone. I'm all about that Johnny Cage. And yeah, of course, fucking Tokyo is still the song ever. And of course, seeing Thundercat at 30 points also was, you know, fun to see some of these songs live. And last of my honorable mentions, the debut self-titled album from XI, the progressive avant-garde metal project started by saxophonist Colin Stetson. I put this one as an honorable mention because this album feels more like a stepping stone of sorts. Like, I get the feeling Colin, as, you know, prominent as he is, this feels like him sort of feeling out the waters of what he can do in the metal genre, you know, progressive metal. And I get the feeling that if XI gets to record a second album, and I hope they do, that's going to be one that's really worth talking about. It really, like, showcases a lot. So yeah, that's my honorable mentions. So let me just take a quick sip of water. And let's move on to number 10, Ne Obliviscaris, Earn. Yeah, so apologies to Alex who doesn't think this band is that great. Except for the part where they are that great. Screw you.
It's a personal thing. Get over it.
No, I won't get over it, Alex. But anyway, yeah, much like with the album that got me into them, Citadel, back in 2014, this is just pure prog majesty from start to end. It's so compositionally rich with detail, so many like vocal and instrumental textures, weird like melodic chord progressions, those great violinic situations all across that makes everything feel just grand scale, operatic, and sweeping. Those, very almost kind of like operatic vocals that soar across everything. And it's just how much it does and all the moods and textures it flows through while still feeling coherent. There's the fast, thrashier kind of parts, there's the melodic soaring, some of the groovier parts on here, and then kind of the softer folk bits. It's just, I think when I showed Citadel to one of my old bandmates in my old band, he described the sound as uncompromising. And I think that's the best way to sum up this album as well, and my general reason for loving Nail of Ascaris. There just isn't any other band that's as uncompromising in their musical ideals and confidence as this group. And Earn is another masterful display of, just good old Australian prog. Number 9, Power Trip, Nightmare Logic. Now, the metal blogs kind of concentrated a lot of their press attention around a small few albums, like 3 or 4 throughout the entire year. Obviously, the big one was that fucking Code Orange release, which, no, it's not showing up on here anyway. But one of the other ones that was getting a lot of attention from a lot of places was, of course, the second full-length studio album from a up-and-coming thrash group, Power Trip. Hell, I think the main reason I heard about it was DeMarco enthusiastically tweeting about it as well as some other metal people that I follow on the tweeters. So when I put on this album, I was blown away. Now, this album is very much like in the old school. Like, if you think of the underground thrash style that emerged in like sort of the mid to late 80s and early 90s, that was sort of taking from like the Slayer aesthetic, except with more of a lo-fi production aesthetic, then you know what you're getting into here. Nightmare Logic is the best sounding version of that style that I've heard in a fucking while. It's like, despite the album sounding lo-fi, the production is actually incredibly solid and tight. Like, when you hear the reverb-heavy guitar leads and the throat-ripping vocals, everything is very sharp and punchy, despite sort of having that quality where, again, the reverb is turned up very high, so, like, it spreads out and envelops you, like this constant suffocating, well, like a nightmare, basically. Everything hits really well, the musical chemistry and interplay, it all comes together really well, and of course it's just some of the most banger-ass metal tunes of, the entire year, like the title track, and of course, the much-celebrated Executioner's Tax, parentheses, Swing of the Axe! Oh, man,
nice.
Just so good. Number 8, and this one was a late one. This one actually came out at the very start of December. So the fact that it's placing this high is a testament to its musical greatness. Glassjaw, Material Control. The first new album from these post-hardcore veterans in like 15 years. They haven't put out an album since 2002. This is probably the strongest album they've put out yet. So clearly that 15-year break didn't go to waste. They came out right out of the gate strong with this one. It retains a lot of the almost kind of off-kilter guitar passages where like the chords and melodic progressions are very off-kilter and unnerving in almost kind of a Deftones-esque kind of way. The leads are, mixed in there very well. The vocals have this very wailing quality that are just kind of like all over the place, fucking wild and packed with passion. There's these really great grooving bass arrangements that, because of how strong the production is, they really stand out well and you really get to like latch onto them. And of course the drumming on this thing, and I didn't know this the first time listening to it, I had to look up afterwards, but you know who actually plays the drums on this album? Motherfucking Billy Reimer of the Dillinger Escape Plan. Just,
How
and
about
I
that?
definitely, I kind of got that tinge when listening to the opening of the song Citizen. Like, the opening is very much, it has like this kind of almost kind of 3/4 thing going on, and then there's like these weird blast beats, and the way it sort of holds this rhythm switching between like halftime and double time, I was like, yep, that sounds like some Dillinger shit. Just the reckless intensity that goes throughout all this album is often as intense as it is kind of hypnotic. And of course, there's just so many great songs in here, like Golgotha, and the album even goes into some more weirder experimental tendencies than past songs. Like, there's this string of tracks, like there's the echoing ambience of the song Strange Hours, there's the pure sort of world tribal music percussion of Bastille Day, which of course segues into the equally strange Pompeii, and yeah, you just have to listen to this thing, man. Like, again, how this band managed to sound like they haven't skipped a beat in this amount of time is fucking just incredible. Well done, Glassjaw. Now, number 7. Brendan Small, Galacticon 2, Become the Storm!
Alright.
Ah, yes, the ever so masterful maestro of drinking bleach. Hopefully he doesn't drink bleach in real life. He's not Nathan Explosion dumb, but anyway, yes, this masterful maestro coming together with an album that functionally, it's like the culmination of everything that he's been doing since like the very first Death album dropped way back in like 2007, I think it did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, everything from like that, his solo albums, the Doomstar Requiem, everything coming together to craft one of the most over-the-top theatrical metal experiences I've heard since Deconstruction, I think. Or Ziltoid 2, take your pick.
I think take your pick of cheeseburgers or coffee.
I think part of what makes this album as good as any other is, again, the very specific chemistry between Brendan Small and Gene Hoglan. Like, these are two guys who know how to bring the best out of each other. They are a dynamic duo, you know, like Kojima and Norman Reedus. Except without the funky fetus. I still don't know what the hell that was. But yeah, like, their chemistry and the way they play off each other is just excellent as ever. Especially on, like, the songs like The Agenda, which have some of the more off-kilter, like, syncopated rhythmic passages. And of course, there's the slow marching stomp of To Kill a God, which has some really strong, like, grooving passages in it that are just heavy as hell. And, you know, those two songs definitely emphasize, like, the theatricality of whatever this premise is. I assume this album is secretly like Star Wars Episode 9. Except without the fanboy bitching. But yeah, you know, especially the thrashier songs, like, of course, the lead-off single, My Name is Murder, which is still just, why is it so good? But yeah, this album was definitely worth, like, the wait it took to get here between all the fucking fighting over the rights of Death Clock and everything. And God, I sincerely hope Brendan gets to tour with this album. I want to hear this live. I need to see these songs performed in person. So good. Number 6, The Black Dahlia Murder, Nightbringers. The biannual release from these death metal icons, a personal top 10 band of mine. Once again, they bring their penchant for these kind of wickedly dark, fast-paced, just melodic death metal into yet another successful album that I'm just surprised how they keep pumping out stuff this good on such a consistent basis. You know, with all the weird guitar, aggressive riffs, chord progressions, and those weird, unnerving neoclassical melodies, the fucking breakneck, pummeling, in-your-face drum work, and some of the most brutal vocal deliveries of any Black Dahlia Murder record to date. Just hit play on that opening track, Widowmaker, as you just hear Trevor's just harsh vocals shrieking out what I'm still pretty sure are a bunch of Overwatch references. And then, of course, the furious pounding assaults of songs like Of God and Serpent, of Spectre and Snake. That's one title, by the way. And, of course, Matriarch is still fucking truly something. And of course, as always, there's kind of like this ritualistic dark majesty to songs like the title track with like its steady groove, the gang shouts, and the sort of low-pitched ritualistic vocal intonations near the end. Or, of course, the explicit classical symphonic overtones of the track Kings of the Night World, which I'm pretty sure has nothing to do with the Nightman. Oh! Yeah, once again, just... I'm worried that one day they're gonna drop the ball, but, like, they haven't yet. I'm still fucking amazed. And now, number 5, an album that Mark only gave an honorable mention to, Iglooghost, Neo Wax Bloom. By all accounts, I still say this is absolutely the best electronic record of the year, as well as one of the most densely composed albums from any artist across any genre, really. It's this very dense, gorgeous mix of like these shimmering synth tones, these kind of sounds of nature's like tweeting birds and whatnot, a lot of the wonky clanking percussion, the warped vocal samples, all coming together to kind of fill out like this weird science fiction fantasy landscape. And the level of complexity is just that each song is packed with, they managed to be very catchy, as I said, I believe in the September roundup. They're catchy as hell, but they're packed with so much detail that you always catch something new every time you're listening. Like, I'm still catching, like, these weird vocal patterns, and, like, there's these brass horn lines in songs like Pale Eyes and Super Ink Burst. There's these great auxiliary percussion touches, like the cool xylophone solo on Zen Champ, or, like, in tracks like White Gum. And even some of the more serene, like, almost calming songs like Bug Thief or Infinite Mint are still packed with a lot of these great dynamic textures and these weird, glitchy details here and there. It's just, there's not a bad song in this entire bunch, and it's one of those albums that I have to always listen from start to end. There's obviously 4 albums ahead of this one, but I feel comfortable saying that Neo Wax Bloom is the best kind of good album. The kind that both demands and generously rewards multiple listens. Let me just take a quick sip of water here. And now for number 4, which this album will put me at 3-3 with my other co-hosts here. Tyler, the Creator, Scumfuck Flower Boy.
Oh, damn.
That high.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that high. It just felt right. Because, you know, we had a year where, like, rappers like Hopsin and Eminem, even though they're fucking in, like, their 30s and 40s, are releasing fucking immature as hell albums that sound like they never really grew the fuck up, and it's just tiring as all hell. And then you have Tyler over here, who, he really did release one of the most soulful and personal albums of any artist this year. And it's kind of because that's what the theme of the album is. Not just exploring his, I think it's bisexuality, if I recall correctly. But it's also more about the theme of growing up, of trying to, like, move on from the past. That's not just something communicated in, like, the fact that there's less instances of, like, have sex with a pregnant chick, tell my friends I had a threesome, stuff like that. But also the fact that, especially for me, the highlight of the song is November. That is the centerpiece of the album, alongside, like, Garden Shed, for example, where he's just rapping about how sort of anxious he feels in regards to his stardom, and how he's trying to, what if he wants to move on, but the world won't let him, because they know him as the guy who was like, LMAO, how is cyberbullying even real? Like, nigga, turn off the computer, close your eyes, like, what if people know him, forever associate him with his obnoxious tweets instead of who he's trying to be now? And that's a very real anxiety that I personally feel, because, like, I'm definitely not the same person now that I was when I was, like, 18 or 20, or however old Tyler was when he first broke out into, like, the music world. And stuff like that is just, like, deeply relatable on a certain level. And there is just so much, like, gorgeous production on here on songs like, you know, the album opener Forward, Where This Flower Blooms, of course Pothole, 911 Mr. Lonely. And, you know, amidst all the analysis of his ego, his loneliness and depression and all that, there's still some of the strongest hooks that I think Tyler has put on a record today. Like, you know, Cupid 2020 vision. Cupid hit me with precision. Or of course, like, who that boy? Who him is? Who that boy? Who him is? Just so many great, sticky, memorable hooks across this album. And as I said, when we first brought it up, this is the most cohesive record that Tyler's put out. The one that works the best as a whole piece. And I'm definitely looking forward to whatever comes next. And hopefully season 2 of the Jellies. I liked season 1. It was very funny. Number 3. Converge. The Dusk in Us. How the hell is Converge this... Again, this is like Black Dahlia Murder. Like, how the fuck is Converge still this damn excellent after, like, 20 plus years together? This is another one of those albums that, like, it took 5 years to get here from their 2012 release, All We Love, We Leave Behind. And right as you hit play, it immediately makes that wait just completely worth the effort. You're hit with, just the excellent, fast, offbeat drums, the chaotic guitar riffs and leads that are packed with like just a static feedback filling out every pocket of the production, the great melodies, Jacob Bannon's vicious vocal performances, and just from the opening to the end on, you see it. I think I said this is one of the more hardcore sounding records, but that would be doing a disservice because their songwriting craft, again, showcases so much talent across a bunch of different kinds of songs. Like, there's the brutal, fast, sort of grinding tracks. Like, you have Eye of the Quarrel. Of course, the lead-off single, I Can Tell You About Pain, with its weird 7/4 time signatures. And it's, you know, super fast, aggressive D-beat drum fills and fast, like, grinding guitar chords and whatnot. And that's saying nothing of the grindcore tangent that's taking on the song Cannibals. You have some of the slower, more groove-heavy songs like Under Duress, and of course, the song Trigger, both of which are bolstered by some really thick, like, just meaty bass riffs, and some massive, drum performances from Ben Collar, especially on the intro to Trigger, where, you know, the bass is playing this groove, but the drums are playing, like, the toms and the snare, accentuating, like, the backbeats of each measure. You know, it kind of creates this cool rhythmically off-kilter feeling. And then, of course, the thunderous album closer Reptilian, which still has what I think is the lyrical summation of 2017. Devils do not need a hell in order to exist. There's, like, the mathier influence on some of the more rhythmically off-kilter tracks, like Arkhipov Calm, which is, again, very mathy, and Merc and Marrow, which kind of has, like, this, it's almost kind of like this jittery, forward-stomping momentum. Like, you have to listen to it. I can't really put it into words, but, you know, you hear, like, that drum beat almost kind of sounding like it's trying to play catch-up with something, and then, like, whenever it actually does beat on, like, the snares and the cymbals and everything, there's those harsh guitaric situations. Then those kind of, like, buzzing, distant guitar leads that almost sound like an insect swarm. And, again, just this, how they're still this excellent on all fronts, especially Jacob Bannon. Like, you'd think doing this shit for so long would hurt his vocals, but they're still as sharp and throat-tearing as ever. Like, when you have to listen to the aforementioned Merc and Marrow or Cannibals, and then, of course, the, you know, throat shredding of You Don't Know What My Pain Feels Like on I Can Tell You About Pain. And then when he has to switch to, like, more melodic, like, on that same track, or, like, on the title track, this big, sweeping 7-minute ballad, which has, like, these moody performances that just work so damn well. And, yeah, just holy shit, like, you know, I don't care if we gotta wait, like, 6 years for whatever the next album is. I'm happy with what we're getting, and we know it's gonna be excellent. And now to the top 2, and believe it or not, I had these in a different order, but I switched these at the last minute, so it was just really hard to decide, but I think I'm making the right choice here. So, number 2, discarnate with all their might. This is just damn near perfection when it comes to the craft of death metal, the songwriting, the production, the performance. On every front, this album absolutely excels. Speaking of albums that we had to wait 6 years for, you get it right away from the album opener of Mice and Mountains. The massive building grooves that start off kind of quiet, but then swell like they're just coming aggressively to fucking fist punch you in the face. As these vicious chugs and these just pummeling vocals just in your face at all times. As the lyrics depict this very fatal journey through, snow-covered mountains. And, yeah, as I said before, the lyrical subject matter on this thing is very, apocalyptic in nature. Especially on, the second track, This Is Fire. Which, instead of giving you, that striving kind of thrash groove, instead goes for, sort of more a metalcore, grooving swagger. Especially when it gets into, that back half where it slows down to a fucking thunderous triplet, low chugging chords and these high, grating chords that is just this massive oral assault. And of course the nihilistic brutality of the lyrics, you're biting your teeth, all wretch, no bile. No one needs convincing of your Mona Lisa smile. You're preaching to the choir, not one of them can sing. The voices of the righteous sound violently thin. Every song on this thing is just as perfect as it gets. There's not a single waste on this thing. This is one of those albums that I absolutely did listen from front to back every time I fucking put it on. And while every song is a grand scale, apocalypse of unsettling melodies and apocalyptic riffs and subject matter, the absolute showstopper still remains track number 4, Traitors in the Palace. Just that slow build up to this slow marching tempo with these royal bells peeking their way through the just thick layers of fucking interwoven dense guitar leads. And as the song just grows and the tempo gets faster and more hectic, and again, the lyrics depicting the aforementioned traitors being subjected to just the worst torture possible as they have to, of course, make way for the king. And if there's another highlight to be had, in my opinion, that's also a great summation of what this album does, is the fucking literal war breaking out that is All the Devils Are Here. As the lyrics convey this kind of fucking futile battle between the armies of man and the fucking demons from hell, with even our best weapons being useless as the fucking blood just runs through the gears and everything. Of just, this entire album is a living nightmare hellscape that suffocates and grabs you and prevents you from escaping. It is just so good. And now, number 1. I think it's kind of funny. My number 25 and my number 1 both come from the same record label. That's the underground extreme label Profound Lore, who have some fucking exciting shit under their banner. And I started with the longest album on my list, and we're closing out with the shortest one. This album is 24 minutes. You could listen to it on your lunch break, even if you work part-time. But that 24 minutes, man, oh man, my number 1, Full of Hell, Trumpeting Ecstasy. This album is a violent, dark, haunting descent into the darkest, nightmarish pits of hell itself, or possibly somewhere else. As soon as you hit play and you're greeted with that noise-soaked Werner Herzog sample on Deluminate, the album just gets right to it. It fucking punches you right in the ears with its fast, grinding assaults of these sharp but brittle guitars, fucking fuzzy as hell bass, and of course, the ever so immaculate vocals of Dylan Walker, never at any point throughout this record ceasing their demonic torment, fucking wavering between the low, fucking guttural growls and the slashing, just high-pitched shrieks, like the sounds of devils themselves fucking being ripped apart at the seams. There's just this constant sense of unease that you can never escape from as you're listening to this entire thing. The songwriting as well is just, these guys, I've said it before, they're up there with Pig Destroyer for me as probably the most innovative songwriters that the grindcore genre has to offer presently. They definitely know how to take that grindcore influence and mix it with fucking elements of like noise and electronic and this definitely helps that they've collaborated with The Body and Merzbow a couple times, because I think they're finally taking that knowledge and just mixing it really well. If you want to think with like the song Bound Sphinx with like its weird, just like discordant electronic synth noise during that especially just dark, massive, brutal groove at the end. Songs like The Cosmic Vein, which have some noise influence and those fast, punishing just instrumental passages and the off-kilter guitar arrangements, especially that tremolo near the end where the guitar isn't playing any rhythms at all and it's just like that contrasted against the bass. There's the fucking fast riffs and drums on Crawling Back to God, which definitely is the one that benefits most from the production. By the way, if you're wondering part of why this album sounds so great, guess who produced it? That's right, Converge guitarist Kurt Ballou. That's who you get when you want your album to fucking be just the most sonic gut punch of an album possible. And definitely on Crawling Back to God, which accentuates just, even though the album production sounds brittle, there's still just so much body and just cutting, slashing edge to everything. Especially just that brief silent passage where Dylan just belts like in a guttural low and then screams just the title lyric, God, that's hurt. I can never do that with my throat. And if there's one showstopper moment here in this entire thing, in an album that's full of just fucking highlight after highlight of relentless, unforgiving brutality, it's the title track. Just this slow, droning guitar riff that puts you very at unease as this haunting, haughty female vocal just sings over it, creating this sense of dread. And then just at this moment when you're not even really fully expecting it, then the drums and the rest of the noise kick in and the vocals. And it's just this... It's not even a grind song. It's more like just this slow, almost kind of like The Body style doom passage where he's just looping this one lyric like atop the ashes of 1,000 ghosts, just screamed around the off-kilter rhythm of the drums, which is just like a couple pounds on the toms, a pound on the snare, and then just letting the fucking reverb and noise just fill out the rest of the arrangement. This is an album that you cannot escape from. You press play on this thing, it captures you. You are stuck in its assault and you have no choice but to wait it out. It's just, it leaves the listener in a constant state of just anxious hopelessness. It's dark, it's relentless, it's got so much great songwriting to it. And that is why Full of Hell's Trumpeting Ecstasy is my number one of 2017. Scene.
Okay, then.
Jeez, that hurt my throat.
That's a
Probably should have had another bottle of water with me. But yeah, that basically covers about everything, unless a mystery voice comes out of nowhere and tries to insert another top 10 here, but we've been going on long enough. Shit, this might actually be longer than the last year's top list.
It is longer than last. It is longer than last year's.
Shit, man. So yeah, we basically at this point we should probably clean house to get the hell out of here. So Alex, where can they find you on the internets?
Same place as always, or of Azure. Literally anywhere. Just type it in a search bar. You'll find me there.
Mark, what about you?
Matt 2 Media on Twitter and Curious Cat, even though no one gives a shit about that. And of course on my site, the Mind the Hybrid One at thehybrid1.wordpress.com. You'll see more. And if you want to read my list, the articles on there as well. And of course, I'm working on my time of the season and fall anime roundup and the top 10 best and worst anime list of 2017 coming soon.
Oh boy, can't wait to read that one. Anyway, as for me, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, CuriousCat, at Rob Barracuda. You can email me, robert at surrealresolution.com. Hopefully you'll all do some of that in the next year. Hint, hint, hint. You can also find me on YouTube, Rob Barracuda. Just, search my name, you find it there. Subscribe to the podcast on Google Play and iTunes. Leave us ratings, and hell, maybe comment on this with what your favorites of the albums of the year were. New audio-only episodes usually go up on Wednesdays. Video goes up usually every Friday on the official YouTube channel of Surreal Resolution. Just search Surreal Resolution on YouTube and you'll find it there. Follow us on Twitter at Surreal Rezo. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitch where we're streaming every day. And, of course, follow us on, the main website, www.surrealresolution.com. And find the podcast on its subdomain, decibelboost.surrealresolution.com. Be sure to listen to our other podcasts if you like gaming, Training Stage, if you like anime, Podcast O&A, which is still doing news briefs, and maybe other stuff. Be sure to check out our written articles. Maybe not much this upcoming next couple weeks, out of me at least. Unless I really feel like reviewing that fucking Eminem album. Dear God.
Oh, Lord.
But yeah, shout out to the producer, Mr.E, for graciously letting me use his music for this podcast. And thank you for joining us, for listening to our ramblings about our favorite shit of this past year. Oh, I should probably mention as well, there will be playlists. If you actually want to listen to our shit, we'll try to link some playlists down in here. Sorry to bring that up last minute. Maybe I'll splice this in closer to the beginning. I'll edit that part out too. And that one.
Oh, damn.
But yes, thank you for listening. We might have one more little surprise for you in the next week or so. So stay tuned, kids, and we can't wait to get back to doing this stuff in 2018. Assuming we don't all die by then. But yeah, peace out, bitches.
See ya.
I'm going to bed, the kitchen.